The sky above the strange planet burned with a dull red glow. The sun was heavy and far, giving more heat than light. Dust storms rolled slowly across the surface, and the land stretched dry and lifeless. In the middle of this harsh place walked a lone figure. His name was Rian, a human explorer who had come here with his small shuttle. Now the shuttle lay half buried in the sand behind him. Broken and useless after a sudden strike of lightning, Rian carried a small pack with the last of his water, a few tools and a scanner that kept giving faint warnings. He was tired, but his steps were steady. He had trained for survival, and humans were known for their stubborn will. Still, even stubbornness needed hope, and hope was hard to find on this world. As he walked toward a line of rocks that looked like teeth rising from the desert floor, his scanner gave a strange sound. The signal was not the usual sign of minerals or radiation. It was something different, something alive. Rian stopped, narrowed his eyes, and then started climbing toward the rocks. If there was life here, it might mean food, water, or even a way to repair his ship. He found a narrow crack between two tall stones. The scanner beeped faster. Rian squeezed through and found himself in a shadowed passage. The air was cooler here. The passage sloped down, leading deeper into the ground. Dust and sand gave way to stone, and faint blue light flickered from below. Rian followed the light carefully, his hand near the small energy knife on his belt. The deeper he went, the more the air smelled different, not dry, but heavy with minerals. The blue light grew brighter until he stepped into a wide cavern, and there, in the middle of the cavern, sat a figure he did not expect. It was a woman, but not human. She sat on the ground with her back against a pillar of stone. Strange glowing chains wrapped around her arms and legs, holding her in place. Her skin gave off a soft silver glow, almost like moonlight. Her eyes were bright, sharp, and full of warning. When she saw him, she spoke at once in a clear voice. "Do not touch me, human. I am poisonous." Rian froze, surprised that she spoke his language. He had met aliens before, but never one who looked so much like him, and never one chained underground. He looked at the chains, then back at her. "Poisonous?" he asked. His voice was calm, but his curiosity grew stronger. Her silver eyes narrowed. "Yes, my skin carries death. Any who touch me fall. That is why I am kept here. That is why you must leave." Rian tilted his head slightly, then stepped closer, just enough for the blue light to shine across his face. "If you are so dangerous, why are you chained?" For a moment, she said nothing. Then she looked away, her voice quieter. "Because danger is not always free. Sometimes it is locked away." Rian studied her carefully. The chains hummed with energy, the kind used by advanced alien tech. Whoever had put her here had wanted her to stay. He thought about the endless desert outside, the broken shuttle, the fact that he was alone. And then he thought about this strange woman with silver skin warning him to leave. He should have turned back. But humans were not known for doing what they should. Instead, Rian stepped closer again. He kept his hands loose at his sides, showing no threat. "I'm Rian," he said simply. The woman looked at him again, confusion in her eyes. "Rian, why do you give me your name?" "I warned you. I am poison, because names matter," he said. "What's yours?" She hesitated. For a moment she seemed to fight with herself. Then she answered softly. "Nira." The sound of it echoed faintly in the cavern. Rian smiled. "Nira, that doesn't sound like poison." Her eyes flashed anger and fear mixing together. "Do not joke. I tell you truth. My people are feared across the stars. Our touch brings death. We are avoided, hunted, used as weapons by those who chain us. You should leave before you share their fate." Rian crouched down a short distance away, far enough not to touch her, but close enough that his voice carried low and steady. "Maybe you're right. Maybe if I touched you, I'd fall. But I don't see a monster. I see someone chained in a cave." Her breath caught for a moment. She looked at him as if trying to read something in his face. Finally, she said, "You are foolish," maybe Rian said. "But humans survive because we are foolish enough to try. We test the fire even when told it burns. The cavern fell quiet, except for the faint hum of the chains. Nira's eyes softened slightly, though her voice still held warning. If you keep coming back, you will regret it. Rian leaned back on the stone floor, resting for the first time since the crash. Then I'll see tomorrow if regret finds me. The next day, Rian returned. He had found no water, no food, and no hope outside. But in the cavern there was light, and something even stronger mystery. He brought his scanner, pointing it toward the chains, and toward Nira herself. The readings were strange. Her body gave off waves of energy unlike anything in his files. The scanner warned of toxins, yet not the kind that killed humans instantly. When he told her this, Nira shook her head. The poison of my people has killed thousands. Entire species avoid us. Do not think your device makes you safe. Rian only shrugged. Then maybe I'm different. Or maybe humans are stubborn enough to live through what others can't. He asked her questions. She resisted at first, but his steady presence and calm voice slowly pulled her into answers. She told him her people were known as the celery. Long ago, they had lived freely, but when other races learned of their toxin, they were captured, separated, and locked away. Some were used in wars as living weapons. Others, like her, were kept in chains, studied, and forgotten. Why here? Rian asked. Her silver eyes grew heavy with old sorrow. Because this world is far from the trade routes. No one comes here. I was left to vanish. Yoon's chest tightened at her words. He knew what it was to feel abandoned, though not in this way. He looked at the glowing chains, then at her thin form. No one should be left to vanish. She looked at him sharply, almost angry again. And what will you do, human? Break chains made by empires. He'll poison that kills with a touch? You cannot. Rian smiled, the kind of smile that had carried his people across oceans and stars. Maybe not today, but I'll start by not leaving. That night, the storm outside grew fierce. Sand hammered against the rocks, and lightning split the sky. The cavern shook, dust falling from above. Rian stayed close to the entrance at first, ready to escape if the rocks gave way. But when the storm grew worse, he moved back toward the center. Nira watched him. Why do you stay? She asked. Because the storm is worse out there, Rian said. And because you're here. She stared at him, trying to understand. Finally, she whispered, You are strange. Humans usually are, Rian said, settling against a rock. He looked at her chains, glowing in the darkness, and then back at her silver eyes. Tomorrow, maybe we'll figure out more. Nira lowered her gaze, but for the first time, she did not tell him to leave. The next morning, the red sun rose slowly over the desert, spilling weak light across the jagged rocks. Rian returned to the cavern, careful not to leave tracks in the shifting sands that might lead predators or alien raiders to him. The storm from last night had passed, leaving the world silent, except for the soft hiss of wind over rocks inside the cavern. Nira waited, her silver skin dim in the weak sunlight, streaming through cracks above. Her chains still held her, though the storm had loosened them slightly. The glowing lines on the metal flickered irregularly, as if the storm had affected their power. Rian approached slowly, placing his hand near hers without touching. I saw the stars last night, he said softly, trying to start a conversation without frightening her. They look different here, bigger, brighter. Rot. Nira's silver eyes narrowed slightly. You speak as if you care for beauty while standing in a cave of chains. I care for beauty where I find it, Rian replied, even in chains. She studied him for a long moment, then spoke in a voice that was quieter, almost sad. Most humans would flee. Your kind usually fears what it does not understand. Why do you stay? Because I want to understand, he said simply. And because leaving you alone here does not feel right? For a long time, Nira said nothing. Then she sighed, a soft sound that echoed in the cavern. You are brave, or foolish. Perhaps both. Very few approach me. Most see only poison, only danger. They turn away. Rian glanced at the chains. Poison, you said your touch kills? Yes, Nira said. Even the smallest contact can bring death. My species carries a toxin in our skin. Some species die in seconds. Others take days. Humans should die immediately if they touch me. Rian did not move closer. Instead, he crouched on the stone floor a few feet away, resting his elbows on his knees. And yet I am here, alive. Her eyes flashed with shock, disbelief, and maybe a hint of hope. You are human. How can it be? How do you survive? Rian shrugged. I do not know yet. Maybe my species is special. Maybe I am special. I have always believed humans can survive what others cannot. We adapt. We persist. We try. Nira looked at him silently, and for the first time she studied him without warning or anger. Your kind is different, fragile in body, yet strange in spirit. You stand where others would fall. You risk what others avoid. Rian smiled faintly. That is what makes us human. The sunlight faded as the cavern darkened again. Rian pulled out his scanner and pointed it at Nira. I want to understand the poison. I need to know if it is really deadly or if your warning is. Partly fear. Her silver eyes flashed sharply. It is not fear. My people have killed many without intent. Many lives lost because of our skin. Do not test me. Do not tempt death. I do not fear death, Rian said softly. I fear leaving questions unanswered. And I believe no one should be locked away and forgotten without reason. Nira's gaze fell. You speak boldly. Most humans speak little and obey much. You defy both. They spoke for hours. Rian learned that Nira had been imprisoned on this planet for centuries by an empire of aliens who feared her people. The Solari were once free, living on worlds full of forests and rivers, but their natural toxin made them targets. Entire fleets had hunted them down. Those captured were either experimented on or left in isolation. The chains are not just chains, Nira explained. They are designed to contain my power, my poison. If I move too freely, the toxin can escape the skin, drift into the air. The creators of these chains wanted to prevent anyone from approaching. Rian studied the faint glow of the chains, curious. Your poison. Does it work on humans? Her eyes flickered, then she said quietly, It should. It always has. My people are dangerous because our touch brings death. And yet you speak as if you are not afraid. I am not afraid, Rian said. Humans face danger. We survive storms, predators, and fire. We survive because we face what others flee from. Maybe it is the same reason I can stand here now. Nira looked at him closely, her gaze searching his face as if trying to measure his soul. You are unlike any human I have known. Even those who survived my touch in stories never came here willingly. You are different. Rian leaned back against the stone wall. I believe humans are capable of more than others think. I believe we can touch the impossible and live. Perhaps some of it is stubbornness. Perhaps some of it is hope. I do not know which. But I know fear does not guide me. Her lips parted as if to speak, then closed again. Finally, she said, most humans fear us. They avoid us. You approach. You talk as if chains mean nothing. Why? Because leaving someone alone when they are trapped is worse than touching poison, he said. If I do nothing, I betray everything humans stand for. Curiosity, courage, empathy. We are flawed, but we try to fix what we can. Her eyes softened, and she looked away. You speak of virtues your kind often fails to practice. Few come to me with such words. Most see only danger and turn. Rian smiled faintly. Then I am lucky you let me stay. Nira shook her head. Luck is not enough. One day, you may learn the cost of touching me. You may regret staying, perhaps Rian said calmly. But I cannot regret learning, understanding, and seeing truth, even if it is dangerous, even if it kills. She studied him silently. For a long time, the only sound in the cavern was the faint hum of her chains. Finally, she spoke, softer than before. I have been alone for centuries. I have spoken to no one. I have known only silence, only the wind, only fear. You. You are the first to see me as more than poison. Rian felt the weight of her words. He had traveled across galaxies, explored dangerous planets, and faced hostile species. But here, in this quiet cavern, he realized something different. Humans could survive storms of sand, radiation, hunger, and cold, but some things required more than strength. Some things required trust. "I do not touch," he said gently, "because I respect your warning. But I stay because I hope you will trust me someday." Her eyes flickered with surprise and something deeper, perhaps hope. "Trust is rare, even among my kind. You speak easily of it. You are human, yet you understand what others cannot." Rian leaned forward slightly, careful not to close the distance. "Understanding comes from listening. Courage comes from acting. Humans learn from both. I will listen, and I will act, not to harm, but to help." The hours passed, and the sun moved across the sky outside the cavern. Shadows shifted inside, and Nira slowly relaxed. She did not speak often now, only watched him as if trying to memorize every detail. Her chains glowed softly, humming with a strange rhythm that seemed to respond to his presence. "You are persistent," she said at last. "Most would have left. Most would have fled." "I did not come here to leave," Rian said. "I came here to see, to learn, and to help, if I could." Nira's voice softened. "Humans are strange. Fragile, yet strong. We fear them for their unpredictability, yet they survive when others fail. You are strange even among them," smiled. "Then maybe I am what humans are meant to be. Curious, brave, careful, but not afraid. We survive by trying, by reaching where others hesitate." For the first time, Nira allowed a faint smile to appear on her silver face. "Perhaps," she whispered, "perhaps there is hope. Even for one like me." Rian nodded. "Hope is always worth finding. Even in chains, even in poison, even in a silent cavern on a red planet." As night fell outside, the cavern grew colder, and the glow of the chains seemed to dim. But Rian did not move. He stayed, talking quietly to Nira, asking her about her life, her people, her fears. She answered slowly, cautiously, but with every word, a bond formed between them. A bond not of touch, but of trust. For the first time in centuries, Nira was not entirely alone. And for the first time, Rian realized that understanding danger and surviving it was not just about strength or skill. It was about heart. Humans had heart, and maybe that heart could survive poison. The following morning, the desert was quieter than usual. The sun rose slowly, bathing the jagged rocks in a soft orange light. Rian returned to the cavern, carrying a small bag with basic tools he had scavenged from his broken shuttle. His footsteps echoed lightly on the stone floor as he approached Nira. She sat in the same place, her chains glowing faintly, the soft hum of energy filling the cavern. Her silver skin reflected the early sunlight streaming through the cracks above. When she saw him, her bright eyes narrowed, half warning, half curiosity. "You are here again," she said, her voice calm but edged with caution. "Do you not grow tired of danger?" Rian smiled slightly. "I have not yet faced danger as interesting as you." Her lips twitched, though not a smile. "Interesting? Do not mistake danger for fascination. Many have called my kind fascinating before their lives ended. I am not like others," Rian said simply. "I am human. We survive what others cannot. I will not leave while you are trapped here." Nira's silver eyes studied him for a long moment. "You speak with courage," she said softly, "and with foolishness. I do not know if that courage will save you or destroy you." Rian crouched near the glowing chains, careful not to touch them. He examined the strange energy patterns running along the metal, trying to understand the mechanism that held Nira in place. The chains pulsed softly like a heartbeat, and Rian realized they were more than physical restraints. They were designed to suppress her natural energy, to prevent the poison in her skin from spreading beyond her body. "I may be foolish," Rian said, "but I have tools and ideas. Maybe we can free you without harm?" Nira looked at him sharply. "Free me? Do you know what you ask?" "These chains were made by masters of war. They are not ordinary. They are ancient and powerful. To touch them is to risk the poison itself." Rian nodded. I understand the risk. But I also understand that living like this is worse than danger. You deserve freedom. Her gaze softened. You speak of freedom as if it is simple. Do you not know the pain, the fear, the centuries of isolation? I do not know all of it, Rian admitted. But I know enough to want to help. If I succeed, you will walk again. If I fail, then I will take the risk and learn. Humans survive because we act, not because we wait. The chains hummed louder as if sensing his presence. Nira's eyes widened. Do not approach too close. Even your proximity may trigger the poison. Rian stayed just out of reach, studying the glowing lines and moving carefully. He took out a small hand tool, a device from his shuttle designed to cut through metal with precise energy pulses. He aimed it at a corner of the chain nearest to her wrist. Wait, Nira said, her voice firm now.
Oh.
You do not understand its full power. One wrong pulse, one mistake.
Oh.
I will be careful, Rian assured her. I do not touch you. I only touch the chains. For a long hour he worked silently, adjusting the pulse and observing the faint reactions of the energy field around the chains. Nira watched every movement, her bright eyes wary but curious. You are precise, she said finally. Few could attempt this without falling to panic. Rian did not answer immediately, focused on the tool, adjusting the energy flow until a soft, low click echoed in the cavern. One link of the chain had fractured slightly. The glow dimmed momentarily. Nira's eyes widened in surprise. You may succeed, she whispered, though her voice was cautious. But understand this, the poison is unpredictable. It has been suppressed for centuries. Releasing it could harm you. I understand, Rian said, keeping his eyes on the fractured chain. And I accept it. Humans act despite uncertainty. It is what makes us human. Another hour passed. Chains resisted, pulsing with a steady hum, but Rian continued. He had learned to read the patterns of energy, adjusting his pulses, careful not to disturb her directly. The chains cracked further, small sparks of blue energy jumping from one link to another. Nira tensed, her silver skin glowing brighter as if reacting to the change. Steady, she murmured. Do not hurry. Even impatience can bring death. Rian slowed, breathing evenly. I am steady, he said. I will not rush. You will be free, and we will survive this together. Finally, the chain around her left wrist fractured completely. A soft pop echoed in the cavern, and a faint shimmer of energy lifted from the metal. Nira gasped, her body trembling as if a weight she had carried for centuries had begun to release. You are close, she said. Do not stop now, but be careful. Rian moved to the next chain, the one around her right wrist. He worked with the same patience, adjusting energy pulses, watching the glowing lines carefully. Sparks danced around him, but he did not flinch. He focused only on freeing her. Slowly, link by link, the chains began to give way. Nira's silver skin shimmered brighter with each fracture, and the faint hum of the cavern changed, almost like a song. Her eyes widened with awe and fear. You are human, she whispered. No one else has. No one else could. Rian looked at her calmly. I am human, he said simply. And humans survive what others fear. That is why I am here. That is why I will help you. Finally, the last chain around her ankles cracked. The blue glow of the chains flickered and then dimmed, leaving only faint traces of energy on the stone floor. Nira lifted herself slowly, testing her balance. For the first time in centuries, she could stand without the chains holding her. Rian stepped back, careful to keep a safe distance. How do you feel? He asked. Nira looked down at her body, then back at him. Her silver skin reflected the dim light, and her eyes glimmered with a mixture of awe and caution. Alive, she whispered. After centuries, I am alive. You survived, Rian said, smiling faintly. And you will continue to survive. Humans do not fear the impossible. We face it, we endure it, and we learn from it. Nira's gaze fell to the floor, then slowly back to him. You touched no poison. You faced what should have killed you. How? How is this possible, Rian? Shrugged lightly. Maybe it is luck. Maybe it is courage. Maybe humans are just built to try what others avoid. I do not know. I only know that fear does not stop us. And I do not fear you. For a moment, the cavern was silent, except for the soft hum of energy still lingering from the broken chains. Nira moved closer, her steps cautious, her body shimmering faintly with residual energy. She stopped a few feet away from Rian, studying him. You are different, she said softly. No human has ever come so close and survived. No one has ever treated me with care and courage. Rian nodded. Then maybe humans are not just survivors. Maybe we are more than what others expect. We face fear, we face danger, and sometimes we change what is impossible into reality. Nira looked at him with an intensity that made him pause. You speak of courage as if it is simple. But it is not. You could have died. One wrong move, one mistake, and your life would have ended. Yet you risked everything for me, because you deserve freedom, Rian said. Because fear should not chain anyone. Humans act when others wait. We try, even when the odds are against us. For the first time, Nira extended her hand toward him, not as a warning, but as a gesture of cautious trust. And now, she asked softly, what will you do? I will stay, Rian replied. I will not touch you yet, but I will stay. Because freedom is new to you, and you need someone to witness it, someone to help, if the poison tries to act again. Her eyes glimmered, a mixture of hope and disbelief. You are brave, or foolish, perhaps both. I do not know which. Maybe both, Rian said with a faint smile. But humans survive by being both. Courage and foolishness often look the same to those who fear. For the first time in centuries, Nira felt something she had forgotten: relief. The chains that had held her, that had kept her body and spirit bound, were gone. She could move freely, breathe fully, and feel the weight of centuries lifting. And all of it was because of a single human who refused to fear. Rian watched her carefully, always aware of the potential danger, but also aware of the change in her. The poison that had once defined her existence now seemed controlled, diminished by the act of trust and careful action. You have done what few could, Nira whispered. You have broken chains, faced danger, and survived. Perhaps humans are more remarkable than I imagined. Rian nodded. We are, and sometimes that is enough to change a life or a world. The cavern grew quiet, the glow of the broken chains fading completely. Outside, the sun climbed higher, casting light across the rocks. Inside, a new chapter had begun, one of freedom, trust, and the untested bond between human and alien. Nira looked at Rian again. You have changed the rules. Perhaps. Perhaps we are not defined by fear. Perhaps we are defined by courage, by choice, by will. Rian smiled. Then let us see how far that choice can take us. For the first time in centuries, Nira stepped fully into freedom. And Rian realized that human courage was not just survival, it was a force that could break chains, defy poison, and create hope where none existed. The morning sun rose higher over the red desert, painting the jagged rocks in gold. The wind whispered over the dunes, carrying the faint smell of metal and sand. Rian and Nira had spent the night in the cavern, talking in quiet tones. For the first time in centuries, Nira had slept without the chains restraining her, her body free but cautious. Rian had kept a careful watch, making sure the poison within her remained dormant. Now, she stood near the cavern entrance, looking out at the desert. Her silver skin reflected the sunlight, giving her an almost ethereal glow. The chains are gone, she whispered. I never thought I would feel the wind against my skin again. I never thought I would stand without restraint. Rian nodded, studying the horizon. Freedom is only the first step. You are free, but the world outside this cavern is not safe. Those who abandoned you may still return. Nira turned sharply, her eyes glowing faintly. You think they will come? After centuries, they will come, Rian said simply. They may have forgotten you, but the empire that feared your kind never truly forgets. If they know you are free, they will send ships, hunters, and soldiers. They will try to bring you back, or worse. Ran through Nira, despite the warmth of the sun. I have not seen them for centuries. I believed I was beyond their reach. I believed I was forgotten. And now? She looked at Rian, uncertainty in her silver eyes. Now I am alive, but the danger follows me immediately. Rian stepped closer, careful to remain within a safe distance. Then we act before they arrive. Humans survive by acting, not waiting. We will move, and we will escape before the Empire learns you are free. Nira studied him for a long moment. You speak as if escape is simple. You do not know the world beyond this planet. You do not know the hunters who would come for me. One misstep and— I do not fear missteps, Rian said calmly. I only fear doing nothing. You are free, Nira, and I will help you remain free. She looked at him silently, then slowly nodded. Then we must leave this place. The desert. It may hide us for a time, but it cannot protect us forever. Together, they began their careful journey down the narrow paths between the jagged rocks. Nira moved with grace, her steps light despite the centuries she had spent in chains. Rian kept a watchful eye on the horizon, scanning for movement, for glints of metal, or the faint shadow of a ship. Hours passed. The desert seemed endless, but Rian had memorized a path that led toward a hidden canyon known to few. He guided Nira through the rocky corridors, the sunlight fading as they entered deeper passages. Her silver skin glowed softly in the dim light, and the faint hum of residual energy from her body gave the cavern a strange warmth. You have been cautious, Rian said quietly, but I can feel your power. It is strong, even after centuries of suppression. It will help us if danger comes. Nira hesitated. My power is dangerous. Even a small release can harm those nearby. I have not controlled it for centuries. I do not know if I can. You will learn, Rian said gently. Humans survive by learning. You will survive by trusting yourself and trusting me. Together, we can face what comes. They moved carefully through the canyon, the rocks rising like walls on either side. The air grew cooler, and the soft hum of energy from Nira's body seemed to respond to the narrow space around her. Rian kept his scanner active, detecting nothing unusual so far. He knew, however, that the Empire's scouts could arrive at any time as they walked. Nira spoke quietly, telling Rian more of her people. The Solari had once lived on worlds of forests, rivers, and tall mountains. Their toxin had made them feared, and that fear had led to centuries of imprisonment and exile. Her voice was soft but filled with pain, memories of a past long gone. I believed my people were lost, she said. We were scattered, hunted, and used as weapons. I thought I would never feel freedom again. And now, I am alive. But the world has changed. The hunters. They will not forgive me for surviving. Rian nodded. Humans face hunters too. And yet we survive. We adapt, we learn, and sometimes we fight back. You have survived centuries of chains. That is more than most can endure. We will endure this together. Hours passed. The sun began to set, painting the canyon walls in shades of orange and red. Nira moved cautiously, her eyes sharp for any sign of danger. Rian walked beside her, scanning the horizon beyond the canyon, knowing that any moment could bring enemy ships or patrols. Suddenly, the scanner beeped a faint, irregular signal, far off in the distance. We are not alone, he whispered. Nira's eyes widened. Hunters. I do not know yet, Rian said. But we must be careful. They moved faster, navigating the rocky terrain with caution. The canyon opened into a wide valley, and in the fading light, Rian spotted movement in the distance, metal glints against the rocks. The Empire's scouts had arrived. Hide, Rian whispered, pulling Nira behind a large boulder. Do not move. Let me observe first. From their cover, they watched as several small ships landed near the canyon entrance. Figures in dark armor stepped out, scanning the area. Rian studied them carefully, noting their patterns and the technology they carried. They were well-trained, precise, and dangerous. We cannot fight them directly, Rian said quietly. We must outsmart them. Nira's silver eyes glimmered with a faint light. I can help, she said softly. My power, it can create a barrier, a shield, but it is unstable. I have not used it in centuries. You will not need to fight them directly, Rian said. We only need to escape. Your power can cover us if necessary, but we move carefully, silently. They waited until the scouts began searching the nearby rocks. Then Rian led Nira through a narrow hidden path that wound around the valley. The path was tight, but it was known only to those who had lived in the desert for years. Rian's knowledge of survival, his training, and his intuition guided them safely through. Hours passed as they moved under the cover of darkness. The scouts remained in the valley, unaware of their escape. Nira's movements were cautious, her silver skin dimmed to avoid drawing attention. Rian stayed close, scanning constantly, adjusting their path to avoid detection. Finally, they reached the edge of a hidden canyon known to very few, an ancient path that led to a human outpost far beyond the desert. Rian activated a small beacon he had built from parts of his shuttle, sending a faint signal across the planet. The human outpost would receive it and prepare for their arrival. Nira watched the signal glow faintly, small light in the darkness. You have brought hope, she whispered. Even when the hunters are near, you find a way. Rian smiled. Humans survive by finding ways. Courage is not the absence of fear, is acting despite fear. And you, Nira, have survived centuries of fear. Together, we can face anything. They moved down the canyon, careful, alert, but determined. The desert stretched vast and silent, but the beacon glowed faintly, guiding them. Nira's silver skin shimmered softly in the dim light, body growing stronger with each step. Hours later, the faint lights of the human outpost appeared on the horizon. Small buildings clustered together, surrounded by defensive walls and energy shields. Rian led Nira carefully into the outpost, where humans greeted them with cautious surprise. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers looked at Nira in awe. She is alive, one of them whispered. We thought the Solari were all lost. Rian stepped forward, placing himself between Nira and the humans. She is not a subject for study, he said firmly. She is free. She deserves respect, not experimentation. Nira looked around, her silver eyes wide with wonder. For the first time in centuries, she felt safe. The chains, the fear, the hunters all were behind her. And for the first time, she allowed herself to hope. The humans accepted Rian's words, realizing the truth in them. Nira was not just a being to observe. She was a living, thinking, feeling life. And the human who had freed her had proven that courage, patience, and understanding could change the impossible. That night, as the desert grew silent again, Nira and Rian stood outside the outpost, looking at the stars. The red planet stretched vast and quiet beneath them, but the galaxy beyond held even greater dangers. Hunters, empires, and unknown forces still roamed. You have brought me here, Nira said softly. To safety, to hope, to life again. And you have survived, Rian replied. Humans survive by facing the impossible, by trusting, by acting, by never giving up. You are alive because you dared to face fear, and because I dared to help. Nira looked at him, a faint smile appearing on her face. Perhaps humans are more remarkable than I imagined. Perhaps, Rian said, looking up at the stars. And this is only the beginning. Together they stood under the stars, knowing the Empire's hunters might come, knowing danger still existed. But for the first time, Nira felt the strength of freedom, the courage of humans, and the hope that they could survive anything together. The desert night was quiet, the red sands stretching endlessly beneath a sky full of stars. The human outpost glowed faintly, a cluster of lights in the vast darkness. Inside, Nira rested, her silver skin dimmed in the soft light of the shelter. The chains that had bound her for centuries were gone. Leaving only faint marks as reminders of the past, Rian sat nearby, checking his equipment and scanning the horizon. The Empire's hunters were still out there, somewhere across the planet, but for now, the outpost provided safety. Nira watched him silently, her silver eyes reflecting curiosity and something new trust. You have risked everything for me, she said softly. You could have died. One mistake, one misstep, and you would have fallen. Why did you stay? Rian smiled faintly. Humans survive by facing danger, by helping others when no one else will. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting despite it. You have endured centuries of chains, Nira. I could not walk away and leave you to despair. She studied him quietly, her eyes searching for a hint of doubt. You are not afraid of me? I am cautious, he admitted, but not afraid. Fear is easy. Courage is harder. Humans try to be brave even when we should run. That is why I survived. That is why you are free. Nira's silver lips curved slightly, the faintest sign of a smile. Then, perhaps, I underestimated humans. Your kind is strange, fragile, yet strong. Weak, yet capable of endurance beyond what most believe. Rian nodded. We are full of contradictions, but those contradictions make us remarkable. Sometimes enough to change the impossible into reality. The next day, Nira explored the outpost cautiously. Humans watched her with fascination, but also respect. Scientists approached, curious about her biology, but Rian was firm. She is not an experiment, he said. She is free. She deserves autonomy, not study. The scientists hesitated, then nodded. They respected the human who had freed her and understood the lesson. Nira was not a weapon or a specimen. She was a living being, capable of thought, feeling, and trust. Over the following days, Nira and Rian formed a careful routine. He taught her about human technology, about scanners, communications, and survival equipment. She taught him about the Solari, their culture, their history, and their unique biology. The more they shared, the more they realized how much humans and Solari could learn from one another. I never thought I would live again, Nira said one evening, as they watched the sun set behind the desert rocks. Centuries of chains, centuries of fear. I had given up hope, and yet here I am, alive. You are alive, Rian said softly. And that is because you survived, and because humans act when others hesitate. Courage is a living thing. It grows when tested. It grows when someone chooses to act instead of leaving fear in control. Nira considered his words, her silver eyes reflecting the fading light. You risked your life for someone you barely knew. That is not common among my people. Few would do so, and yet you did it. Why? Because I could not stand by and see suffering when I could prevent it, Rian said simply. Humans survive by helping, by acting, by refusing to accept what others call impossible. And now you are free to choose your path. For the first time, Nira felt the weight of centuries lift from her shoulders. She had been a prisoner, a weapon, a being defined by her poison. But now she was more than that. She was alive. She had someone who believed in her, someone who had proven that fear was not the only way to live. Days later, the outpost received a faint warning from sensors. Small ships had been detected in orbit above the planet. The Empire's hunters had finally arrived. Drawn by the beacon Rian had sent weeks before. They are here, Rian said, his eyes scanning the sky. They may not know the outpost is fully prepared, but they will attempt to capture you. Nira's silver eyes narrowed. I cannot fight as I once did. My strength is dangerous, uncontrolled. I could harm you, or the humans here. You do not need to fight alone, Rian said. Humans are resourceful. We can defend this outpost, and together we will protect you. You have survived centuries of chains, Nira. Surely you can survive hunters for a short time if we act wisely. The Empire's ships descended slowly, scanning for the source of the beacon. Humans in the outpost activated defensive shields, and Rian guided Nira to a hidden observation point. From there, they could see the alien ships, sleek and angular, moving in formation. They underestimate you, Rian whispered. They see you as dangerous but weak. They do not know what humans and Solari can do together. Nira studied the ships silently, her silver skin shimmering softly in the dim light. Perhaps I was wrong to fear humans. Perhaps your courage is different than what I expected. The first wave of scouts landed, small teams moving quickly, toward the outpost. Rian and the humans acted fast, creating decoys, setting traps, and preparing defensive shields. Nira concentrated, using her energy carefully to create barriers that blocked entry points without harming anyone. Her power was unstable at first, but guided by Rian's instructions, she managed to control it, directing it where needed. The scouts paused, confused by the unexpected resistance. The humans moved quickly, coordinating with Rian's strategies, while Nira's shimmering shields forced the scouts to retreat. Slowly, the hunters realized the outpost was prepared for their arrival. They attempted a final approach, but were met with well-organized defenses and careful planning. Rian watched the unfolding scene with quiet satisfaction. "Humans survive by thinking ahead," he said to Nira, "and we survive because we act as one. Courage is nothing without action. Action is nothing without trust. You trust me now, and together we protect each other." Nira nodded, her silver eyes glimmering. "You have shown me. Humans are capable of more than fear. They can survive, and they can protect. I never imagined this. I never imagined someone would risk everything for me. And yet here you are." As the night deepened, the Empire's hunters finally retreated. They had underestimated the human outpost, underestimated the combination of human strategy and Nira's controlled power. For now, the threat was gone, and the outpost remained safe. Rian and Nira emerged from their observation point, walking carefully among the humans who had watched the battle unfold. Nira's silver skin reflected the dim lights, but she moved without fear. For the first time, she felt fully alive, fully free, and fully part of a team that respected her. "You have survived chains, centuries of isolation, and now hunters," Rian said quietly. "Your courage, your endurance, and your trust have brought you here. Freedom is not just a state, it is a choice. And you chose it." Nira looked at him, her eyes soft and warm. "And you are the reason I chose it. You showed me that courage is stronger than fear, that trust can survive poison, that life is worth living even when everything else seems lost." Rian smiled. "Humans survive by reaching for what others avoid. We face danger because it is there. We act because inaction leads only to regret. And now, you are alive because we acted together." For the first time in centuries, Nira extended her hand not as a warning, but as a gesture of trust. Rian took it firmly, smiling back. Her skin shimmered softly, but there was no danger. Only trust, only courage, only life. "You have shown me something," Nira said quietly. "That fear does not define us. That poison does not define me. That humans can be remarkable. And perhaps, together, we can face the galaxy, not as prisoner and savior, but as equals." Rian nodded. "Together, humans survive by acting. And sometimes, we survive by trusting others to act with us. We are stronger together. And now, you are not alone." The stars above stretched endlessly, a galaxy of unknown challenges, dangers, and wonders. But for the first time, Nira felt she could face them. She had survived centuries of chains, centuries of fear. And now, she had allies who respected her, who believed in her, who acted with courage. Rian looked at her, a quiet pride in his eyes. "This is only the beginning, Nira. You are free. You are alive. And together, we can survive anything. Not because of luck, not because of strength alone, but because humans face the impossible. We endure. We act. We choose courage over fear." Nira's silver eyes glimmered, her lips curved in a faint but genuine smile. "Then let us see how far courage can take us," she whispered together. Human and Solari stood beneath the stars, their bond forged in trust, courage, and survival. The galaxy might fear her kind, might fear humans, but now they had proof, courage. Action and heart could defy fear, defy chains, and defy poison itself. For the first time in centuries, Nira was not only free, she was alive. And she would remain alive because humans dared to reach out, smile, and stand where others would flee.